Content warning, discussion of trauma and police interactions.
Hello everybody, this is DID Hatchery. I hope everybody's doing well. I know it's been a while. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, a fantastic new year, and I hope you have a beautiful year ahead. I know it's been a long time. I'm gonna use this time to tell you a story time of why I've been gone so long and why part of that is based on my childhood and my history of trauma. Now remember, if you're not ready to hear details of trauma and someone else's history, please turn off now. Only watch if you choose to watch and if you're ready to watch. Thanks. Okay. So I'm a little nervous, so I might just be a little shaky because it's been a while. But I'm going to tell you some stories about my family's experience with the police when I was growing up. I'm telling these stories because recently there's been a spate of swattings against my family. And it's like a few months now, but those incidences sort of made me withdraw within myself as a trauma response, because when I was growing up, I'm 5 foot tall, very short, I can't run. All I could ever do was hide and be very still and very quiet. And to this day, that behavior causes me to be in freeze mode most of the time. I get triggered and I freeze. That's my dominant response. And so I think what happened is with these police incidences, it caused me to freeze. I could not approach the internet. Like right now, this is taking a lot of I'm trying to work through it. This for me is therapeutic. I'm trying to face something that scares me because I want to do something I love and care about. And that's more important to me than fear. Okay, so I'm just telling these stories so you understand the impact of present day experience on a traumatized person who had similar experiences in childhood. Okay, here we go. My mother was severely mentally ill. She got sick in 1980 when I was 3 years old. 1980 was not the best time to be mentally ill. And it certainly wasn't a good time if you were from a poverty-stricken family like myself. And so when my mother got sick, both of my parents were not educated at the time. At the time, they were both very young, in their mid-20s, had graduated high school, but no further education, and life was difficult. And so, not a lot of money, and not a lot of awareness of what to do if something like this happened. So my family ended up doing a lot of things that were odd, and probably people would definitely not do them today, to get by, out of necessity. So my mother, up until the age of 3, was fantastic. She was a den mother, a PTA mom, a cheerleading coach. She did everything and she loved us dearly. But then when I was 3, I drowned. I had a very severe drowning and I was in intensive care for like a month. I almost died. And that triggered her latent bipolar disorder because she wasn't sleeping. She was extremely stressed and it triggered her first manic episode. And my mother's bipolar was epic. It was not mild. It was one of the most extreme forms of bipolar I've ever seen. And it was uncontrolled for so many years. Okay, so when you go from being a normal family to being a family with a mentally ill parent in 1980, a lot of things happen. People start treating you differently. Your family becomes the crazy family. People start looking at you differently. And everyone's talking about your mother. So I had to experience that shift in how people viewed my family because my mother got so sick. And so everywhere we lived while we lived with my mother, she became the crazy lady on the block. And it was devastating. Well, what comes with a very sick mother is a lot of visits by the police, a lot of interactions with the police. One of my earliest memories of my mother is my mother being taken away in the back of a police car. I just have a visual. The police car, my mother's in the back, her head is turned back towards us, and she just has makeup and tears streaming down her face, and it's one of the most devastating things to experience as a child. Anyway, so we had the police at our house a lot, because my mother's bipolar was very public, very wild, and a lot of things happened. I'll give you an example of how another little story about how people saw my mother. When I was 18 years old, I went to junior college, and my first class was art, like art lectures, not like actually doing art history. And when I was they were doing roll call. The professor came across my name and he said, "Oh my God, I've known you since you were this high. Your mom was crazy." First thing he says to me. It turned out my teacher was my neighbor from my first house. And he had seen a lot of what happened with my mother when I was young. But that was the first thing he said to me when he saw me at 18. So it was very impactful. And so growing up from 3 years old, we had the police at our house a lot, okay? A lot. And I saw a lot of things. And because of those interactions and because of the ties to trauma, I developed parts specifically to deal with police. I have more than one, I'm sure. And they know exactly how to fawn anytime the police are around. But as a result of this childhood trauma, when this recent event happened, I had a trauma response. It pulled me away. I hid. I went inward. I became afraid. I didn't want anybody to see me. I wanted to be invisible. But it's more important to me to be brave. And so I just think that sometimes people do things without thinking about the three-dimensional lives of the people they're doing it to. And so those instances, like I said, they drove me inward as a response and made everything difficult. What's difficult about dissociation is nobody really knows when you're dissociating, when you're in public, because it's a covert disorder and you're not supposed to be showing it for protection. And it's not a choice. It just either happens or not, just how it goes. I just feel like I'm not doing this right. I'm trying to tie my past to my present. How certain experience in childhood can affect you in adulthood, and you still have those same those same trauma responses from childhood. That's what I meant to say. And I thought it would be good to talk about because it has been demonstrated on this platform. I left for like a month and a half. I tried to come back a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't ready, apparently. I don't know if I'm ready now. I feel I really want to make this video, but I don't know if it'll be the best video I could have made because, anxiety kind of frazzles your brain. I'm in fight or flight often. And when I'm in fight or flight, if anybody knocks on my door, anytime, it doesn't matter who, if anybody knocks on my door, my brain immediately goes, cops, the cops, just automatically, okay? Because of the experience of the police coming to my house so many times. And it went on for 7 years. The police always being at our house. So, like I said, I developed parts to deal with them. Not intentionally, it just happened because that was the nature of my environment at the time. There was just so much chaos. And I saw the police do things like tackle my mother and handcuff her violently and drag her places and throw her in police cars and sometimes ambulances, sometimes police cars, you know. And so I just want people to think about what they're doing before they do things like that. You don't know what someone has lived through. And you don't know how, like, when this trigger is repeated, how it can quite literally cripple somebody for months. And I don't know. And I'm just trying very hard to overcome it because it brings back all of my history. It brings back the smell of the street I lived on. You know, it brings back flashes of the things that happened. And I just wanted to explain how childhood trauma repeats in adulthood. And I had the same response. I pulled inward, I hid, I froze. I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to hide. And hence no videos. But I also wanted to teach through this experience because it was seen on this platform that I was absent for so long. So the trauma response could be sort of measured in a way. Anyway. I just wanted to talk about that and how trauma responses affect you throughout your life. You can't control it. It's your nervous system at work. It's your subconscious at work. And I'm so good with cops. I fawn so hard. My alters are their most charming selves because of everything we have seen police do in our childhood to our mother. So I'm sorry I was gone so long. I just wanted to explain that, and I wanted to demonstrate how childhood trauma impacts you in adulthood. This kept me frozen for a month and a half or so, or however long I've been off. Not good with time. So I just wanted to tell these stories because I do have a long history. I have a lot of things that happened in my life. Those experiences as a child with the police, with my mother, those weren't the only experiences I had in my life. Later, when I was long gone from my family, the cops were constantly called on me because I made a lot of unaliving attempts. I've been handcuffed at malls. I've been dragged away in a million different places. It's almost like I felt the need to repeat my mother's experience. I don't know. And so that only stopped in my 30s and calmed after that to some degree. So I just wanted to tell these stories, like I said, because every human being has an entire universe of history behind them that you may or may not know. And I know I've talked a little bit about trauma, but I haven't specifically talked about a lot of my stories. I've told quite a some, you know. But that's just something I want people to understand when they think about fighting with people. So anyway, I hope you're all well. I missed you all. I'm gonna try so hard to make videos. Like I said, I don't know. I have a video coming up that I'm working on the editing of finally. It's been 6 months. I don't know. I ran away from it. I don't know why. With me and my psychologist talking about a flashback I had on camera. And so I still have that one coming up, and I have like a whole list of like 40 video subject matters that I could do, but I can only approach these topics when I'm ready and when different parts allow it. And that's just how it goes. So I hope you're all well. I love you guys so much. Have a great day.